So good afternoon. March the 17th, 2014. This is CISG114, Section 1, Web Technology. Right? Today is day number 10 in week number 6. Let's get started. Welcome back. Are you surprised when you read the news this couple of days? Do you observe what's happening around the world? One important news. The missing airplane from where? From where to where? Okay, from Malaysia to Beijing. Where is the airplane at this point? Do you know any news? This morning, there's a new piece of news. It was leaked to the world through mostly through the U.S. intelligence, but they do not claim to be United States. We know this from the U.S. They discovered that somehow the plane was deliberately managed to steer away from the regular track from Malaysia to Beijing, but steered away. Instead of going towards Beijing's directions, they go to the Indian Ocean's directions. That means they change directions. Okay, very good question, right? And then they also discovered that the plane was maneuvered in such a way that they could escape the detections of radar. Okay? Now when a plane was able to do something like this, and also the plane inside the cockpit, someone must have turned off the systems of automatic data transmissions from the plane to the ground stations. Okay? But there was something out there called the spy satellite. Okay? Spy satellite is still able to pick up some signals on the plane for how many hours after it was missing? 6 hours more. In that 6 hours more, that means the plane was actually flying somewhere. Okay, now do you know, according to the news, what's being the major source of investigations is the pilot, or the co-pilot. That means it was guessed, okay? The pilot or the co-pilot inside the cockpit must have driven the plane in different directions with no regards of the people inside the plane. What is the evidence of this no regard to the people inside the plane? Normally, when we ride an aeroplane, what is the normal altitude? Do you know the altitude? The height of the ground when the plane was traveling. What is the normal altitude? Do you guess? It's about, normally it's about 20 to 30,000 feet. This time, it rises up to about 42,000 feet. What does it mean? You cannot breathe. You can't breathe in this altitude. And if the plane was riding on this altitude for a prolonged period of time, normally a human being will suffer unconsciousness. That means many people might have died because of the plane flying in that altitude. We do not know where the plane is at this point. But guess what? Ask this question. Those passengers riding the plane are expecting to go home in about 5 hours. Now they are away from this expected destination for already how many days? How many days? More than 1 week already. And if there is no food for any passengers with that period of time, you see the tragedies. 200 and something people stay, including 2 babies. Okay? So when things like this happen, we want to ask why. Is it an act of terrorism? Can we find traces of the plane's first launch? We do not find any of such things at this point. So the most likely result people might guess is it may be a very intentional act of hijacking. They hijack the plane. So the plane might have flown into a secret airport, left over there. For some, well, we do not know who they are. And they might take care of the plane in such a way they want to use it for some other purposes. But what happened to the people? Can you guess? We really do not want to guess anything more, but we know the possible results. Okay? So normally I would invite my students to observe a moment of silence for this, because we really do not know what's going to happen to us. In the past 10 years, I often fly the plane almost 2 or 3 times a year because I have to go to conferences. And you always expect to go home soon because your kids to take care of. Your family members, you want to be with them after you finish your business. But if you happen to be one of the passengers of that plane, you know how tragic it is for your families. So sometimes we need to learn how to care for this. And it happens without anyone sometimes. Okay, it happens without anyone. So if you care about what's happening in the world, you may want to have a moment of silence for that during your quiet time. Okay? So this is week number 6 already. Well, I mentioned this because personally speaking, I care about this news every day. I look for news about this, and every day I got something new. Okay, so this is week number 6. If you look at week number 6, we are in the 2nd week of self-regulated learning. Okay, SRL. And last week I sent you the first teacher's message for self-regulated learning, enumerating 4 areas of task management that I expected each one of you in this class to get ready to acquire that particular competency. But in order to acquire the competency here in self-regulated learning, you have to accept the challenge which is given you in the 2nd learning contract. Again, very similar with the 1st learning contract. Now, if those of you who have read my teacher's message released yesterday, you know that I have given you a very important hint about what the challenge is in this 2nd learning contract. Now, may I ask you this question? Do you remember how many weeks of work you need to go through in this 2nd learning contract? How many weeks? 3, right? Week number 5, week number 6, week number 7. Have you ever counted the number of questions in week number 5, 6? Have you ever counted the number of questions in week number 6, meaning the reading list? How many? Week number 6? Can you discover it yourself now if you have a device? Okay? Can you discover how many questions are there in week number 7? Now, if I were right, okay, and actually I checked it yesterday, altogether there are 11 questions, distinct questions. 11 distinct questions. Now, the interesting thing about this, as I shared with you last week, is you just have to submit 1 week's journal. That means it's no more than 6 questions in week number 5. And you have to do it with your learning partner. So it's easy for you to guess how many topics maximum you need to do between the two of you in your pair. It's 3, right? But if you have 3 persons in your pair, it's good. Only 2 topics per person, okay? So this is something you know. But there is a little difference in the second learning contract from the first learning contract in regard to discussions of topic. Have you discovered what that difference is? Have you? Have you? Okay? Not yet? Have you read my teacher's message yesterday? Not yet? Okay. Now, may I give you some time to read a little bit of the teacher's message so that I do not need to surprise you that much. Okay? Let's see. This is my teacher's message released yesterday. Now, this is the first part. Let's try to read the first part with, say, 3 minutes. Okay? Let's try to read the first part. Learning contract 002 with 3 minutes. Okay? But the first part is not so much different from the first learning contract. Now, using 3 minutes time, please take a look at the first part. It's important because I need to make sure you are aware of the challenge so as to understand how to acquire self-regulated learning. So the first thing said, well, in the second learning contract, you need to prepare 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 items. 7 items instead of 6 items. Remember, in first learning contract, you have 6 items. So you question it, what is that extra item? Okay? So you discover that the extra item that is required of you by reading the first part of the teacher's messages, you have something called pair wikis to work on, pair wikis. Now you have a journal, right? You experience that. And you have a discussion forum, you experience that. But we need to introduce to you to the user wiki, which is the context of the second learning contract, one more web tool that you need to use. The wiki is a web page on which more than one student could work on your project together, such as writing collaboratively, discussing something, or building something, which could be your learning portfolio. Okay? So if you look at the websites this week and also last week, if you happen to be observant enough, you will discover that we do have a wikis provided for you already. So let's take a look at week number 5. Do you see that there is something called Collaborations Wiki for week 05 to 07? Okay? This is a wiki provided to you already. And for week number 6, the same wiki. Okay? It's here. Okay, so how do you use it? Well, it's just like a text editor. When you click into the wiki, they will ask you this question. Do you want to create a page for yourself? Normally, you can only see your pair's number or your personal name. Suppose you belong to pair 01. And you will say, yes, I want to create, make sure you click HTML format. We expect that you use HTML. The other two formats, forget it. You do not need to know much about this because in Moodle 2.5, they also provide another two format, which is good for those who use them. But for us, the first one, okay, HTML. So if this is what you want, and if you're in pair 01, you just click Create Page. Okay? When you click Create Page, you will be brought to something like this. This is called Text Editor. Just like any text editor you have been using in Moodle for your journal, for your online discussion forum, then you just type something here. Okay? You just type something here. When you type something here, that is the front page of your wiki. Okay, that is the front page of your wiki. At the end of the typing, you save it, then you will have the front page of your wiki. For example, if I type here CISG114, section 1, web technology and life. So if this is what I type in when I save it, I will have the page with this information. You see that? I will have the page with this information. But the power of a wiki is not just what you can type in here as a page. The power of a wiki is basically a system. You can start using it to create different pages. Different pages. For example, if this is the front door of my house, I can let you into my house. In my house, I can have a living room, a dining room, one master bedroom, 2 small bedrooms, 1 kitchen, 2 toilets. Okay? Then each one of these could have its own sub-pages. Okay? Sub-pages. And the power of the wiki is you can use this particular wiki to create sub-pages for each member of your pair. And each member could have his or her own space to carry the journal material, to carry the discussion detail, to carry the report. Okay? So the key question you need to know and ask when you come to wiki is, how can I create those sub-pages? Look, this is a very simple technique. For example, if I would like to create a sub-page, I need to go back to Edit. There are only 2 important buttons in each wiki page. The first is View. The second is Edit. Okay? Now you need to know this. For example, in this pair, if I have 2 persons, the first person is called John. And the second person is called Kim. So I need to create a space for John and a space for Tim. The way to do it is very simple. I put John into a pair of square brackets, like this. And I put Tim into a pair of square brackets, like this. Okay? And then I'm going to save this. When I save this, you see John and Tim appear red and italics. What does it mean? It means I have to create 2 more pages from this front page. And these 2 pages are 1 level below the front page. And the first page is called John, the second page is called Tim. Okay? But how can I actually see there is a page there? Very simple. Now I'm in the view mode. When I click on this John or Tim, you see it's a link already. So if I click on John now, I was brought to this page again, asking me if I want to create a page with the name John. If that is what I want, and I choose HTML, I click Create. And now I'm brought to the page of John. So let me type something here. Now how can I go back home from John's page? Let me just save this, okay? I'm going to save this. So in John's page, I type something called, this is John, return home. How can I return home? What is meant by home? Home means the front page, okay? So if you do not know anything, you come to Map, click Map. When you click Map, your home is Learning Contract 002. So I click Learning Contract 002, okay? And then I was brought back home here. And then I'm going to Tim's page. And I do the same. I create a page for Tim. and then I type. Okay. Return home. But this time, when I say return home, I do a little bit more. I'd say create page. They ask, are you sure? Because you have not, you do not save this, you will lose it. So I say stay on page first, and let me save this first. Okay, and then I've saved this. So I'm going to say, can I just copy this, return home? This is my return home page. And I have John, I have team, then I come back here. This is Teams page, so I'm going to add the Teams page by adding something here. You see, I just copy and paste learning contract 002 here, so I say save. Now once I save here, I see there's a link here, okay? And when I click on this link, I was brought home here. Now I'm going to John's page, and I'm going to add in it again. So I'm going to add the home page, home link page here, and I save it. So you see that I got a home link back to this. So I have just given you a quick instructions on how you can go from the first page at level 0 to two other page at level 1. Now, if you are in John's page or Team's page, you can continue to build pages. It's a hierarchy, okay? Now, it's very useful. As a hierarchy, you use it to build different pages to carry different informations. All right? You can build pages, or better say a system, which is called Learning Contract 001. And on that Learning Contract 001, you can have 6 different pages, one for each item you submit. Did you see the meaning of that? And similarly, in Learning Contract 002, you have 7 items, right? And you can use 7 different pages, one for each item of the artifacts you need to submit. So having said that, I have just brought to your attention the meaning of this. Okay? So you now know, besides the 6th item you're so much familiar with, as from Learning Contract number 1, in Learning Contract number 2, you have to learn how to use the pair wikis. I just demonstrate you, okay, using the technique of building pages to demonstrate your work. So because this course is web technology and life, in the first learning contract you use journal and discussion forum and a little bit of submission link. In the second learning contract, you have to use one more tool, that is the wiki. Okay? Okay? Do you see the differences? Now, the second major thing is this. Alright? You need to know this. If not, you're going to make some mistakes that is not worth it. So make sure you read the second part, exercise power of choice now. Read exercise power of choice to see if you understand each item carefully. Okay? It's very important. I'll give you some 5 minutes time to read, okay? And I'll give you time to ask questions. Because it's very important the second week of this learning contract, I guide you through what you need to do, okay? If you don't understand, make sure you ask me questions. But fortunately, I have not received any student sign-up for sharing today, so I have a little bit more time to do that, okay? Read this second part, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 item to see if you understand it, okay? Let me see if I can maximize the size of the character. Yes, I increase it a little bit. Yeah. Here we go. It's much better now. Now, you have 5 minutes time. Read it and discuss it in your table to see if you understand it. It's very important. It's very important. At least you have 2 persons reading the same material now. Just 7 items. Okay? Nabi, are you reading it? Yeah, thank you very much. Jesse, is it okay? It's easier to read the big words here, okay? Yeah. Oh yes, you might need some translations, okay? Now, let's walk it through. Each pair member is obliged to choose one topic, means question, for discussion. Read it in each of the 3 widths of reading lists. In each of the 3 widths of reading lists, width 5, width 6, and width 7. What does it mean? Remember, in learning content number 1, you just discussed how many topics? 1, right? Even there are 4 widths there, right? But here, what does it mean? You need to do 1 topic for each width reading list. At most, how many topics? 1 topic for each width, for 3 widths. At most, 3. Yeah. You need to discuss 3 topics instead of 1, okay? But worry not, read on, okay? They're all together 11 distinct questions in this 3 widths to choose 3 questions. If you look at all the questions, distinct questions in the 3 widths, you will discover some questions repeat in the second width, in width number 6, some questions repeat in width number 7, but if you look at them together, there are 11 distinct questions. Now, out of 11 distinct questions, you need to select 3, and 1 from each week, okay? Each week's distinct question. So you need to do discussions of 3 topics, okay? It's a little bit more than the first learning contract. Now, look at that. The second thing is, each pair is obliged to complete journaling 6 chosen out of 11 topics distributed on the 3 reading lists. Week 5, week 6, week 7, for example, 1 student might journal 2 topics and in popular remaining 4 topics. What does it mean? Well, in each of the 3 weeks, week 5, week 6, week 7, you have a number of topics. For example, in week 5 you have 6. In week 6 you have maybe 4, okay? And you can count them. But as a pair, okay? You need to complete journaling 6 topics, 6 questions out of 11. 6 questions out of 11, okay? For the 3 weeks. This is a pair, okay? This is a pair. Now, remember, this as a pair does not mean it's an individual, okay? As an individual, as I told you, you will have to turn in at least 1 week's journal, right? No, but as a pair, if you have done 6 altogether, and it's divided between the 2 of you, your partner's work could be counted as your personal work in a specific week. Okay? So you can use your partner's journal as your author submitted. Now, think a little bit about this. That is the interesting thing about self-regulated learning. I'm giving you a lot of possibility to make decisions. Okay? You need to make sure what is required of you first. And then you work with your learning partner and do the best of the choices you can make. Okay, we are playing with a little bit of number. That's why we say exercise power of choice. This exercise is designed with this flexibility for you to maneuver among work. In the process of doing that, The only idea is to see how mature you are in doing focusing on discussions of topic. Okay? There are many things in front of you, but you do not need to do them all, okay? You do not need to do them all. You need to choose. Okay? If you have not chosen the right one, you might believe you have to do a lot of things, but if you've chosen and stay of your choice, it's not much, just like in the first learning contract. Okay, each pair now is obliged to discuss in your pair or 9 discussion forum the 6 chosen topics consisting 6 set of discussion detail. How do you count 6? If each one of you in a pair has done 3 topics, the 2 of you in your pair make 6, right? You discuss 3, he or she discuss 3. Okay? It's half and half, just like what I just told you last week. Okay? Not more than 3 from the personal point of view. But when 3 plus 3 as a pair, you have 6. But keep that in mind. And then, just the same as in the first learning contract, each pair is obliged to publish 2 blocks. Oh, 1 from each pair member. And each block could be chosen from the 3 possible topics you finish discussions with your learning partner. Do you see the difference? Do you see the difference? Now, you have to think, you have to talk about this. That is the purpose of this exercise, okay? Everything is just the same as in the first learning contract, but you have more maneuvering, okay? And each pair, again, is to complete a report with delineate 2 topics, 1 from each learning partner, 1 from each partner in the pair. And the 2 topics could have been selected from the 6 possible topics of the pair. That means my topic could be chosen from the 3 I did. Your topic could be chosen from the 3 you did. Okay, so 2 from 6. And each pair is obliged to complete a wiki version of the report. That's the reasons why the wiki is important. Because in the process of doing the 3 topics on your part and the 3 topics on my part in the wiki, after taking up from the discussion forum, you have to go through a process of selection. Okay? And how do you select one from the other? And finally, a pair-based proposal. Now remember, this time, when you submit a proposal, it's no longer from an individual, it's from the pair. The 2 of you submit one, okay? 2 of you submit one, the same one. And again, it contains a title, 3 questions, 3 different references, and a small paragraph. So, please discuss among yourself with at least 10 minutes here. We have, yes, definitely 10 minutes. Do you understand at this, up to this point what you need to accomplish in your second learning contract? And what are the differences in terms of workload of the second learning contract from the first learning contract? Okay? You can actually talk across table if you believe you want to know something more from your fellow members. Okay? Now spend 5 to 10 minutes time talk about this. Okay? Okay? Feel free to talk because you need to know what you need to accomplish and how much time do you have. Alright? The due date, do you remember the due date for second learning contract? March the 29th. Okay? March the 29th. Today is what? March the 17th. Right? So if given the practice of the first learning contract, March the 29th costs how many days? At most 5 days. Okay? Because the extensions in the first learning contract have to be 5 days extensions, right? So March the 29th plus 5 days means April the 4th. Means. So the last day to submit the work is April the 4th. Today is March the 17th. That is your resource. That is your timeline. Okay? So, and then you need to take a look at the topics. And then you need to go through the topic to select How many topics altogether between the two of you in your head? 6. And so much better if you're 3. That means each one does 2. Each one does 3. So you are in a very good position. Okay, anyway, now please carry out with your table-based discussion. You can join them if you don't have enough data, okay? You have to understand strategies, and what I'm going to help you is, I will help you to do what we call income sharing based on your work in the secondary contract. That means what? Because on the one hand, use what you did in the secondary contract to do a sharing. You can earn points already instead of just relying on the submissions. Okay? Help yourself. Lovey, can I help you? Do you understand what is required of you? Yeah. So you need to make sure you're not Yes. I'm more than really No, just throughout the period, I do not have the right, and at least at the end of the learning contract, I should see the details there. Oh, very good question. Remember, in the past, we have the general, right? And the general, we continue just like before, but we often invite our students in general into the wiki. That's an important reference for learning content, because for the wiki, both you can access the wiki. Okay, so if you do not copy your journal into the wiki, in the past, you just put it in the discussion forum. Yeah, or your partner comment. Now you also put it in the wiki, so that your partner can take what you put over there and always provide comments for you. Okay, but remember, since you have to do all together as a family 6 topic, 3 from so your partner might put more details in the wiki for you to choose. It's really up to the 2 of you. Because how can you choose 3? We have all together 11, right? So if she is willing to put her general details in the wiki, not just put 3, but put 4, and ask for your feedback to choose from 3 for her. And that is the way how you use it. Okay? A wiki is just a tool, it's a medium for creating issues. Okay? Other than the following discussion forum, the way you communicate is always press reply. But in a wiki, no, it's a page of your own space. But this page of your own space could be accessed by your partner. That means your partner can write on your own space. Okay? And you must create something. You can write on my space, but don't delete my own space there. Okay? And then you keep in mind the purpose of the wiki. The purpose of the wiki is to give you a medium so that the 2 of you can work together by writing, adding, changing, updating, uploading the things on the wiki. So that the 2 of you will be informed of one another's work. And the eventual result is create the discussion detail of 6 topics. 3 belong to your partner, 3 belong to you. And use the discussion result to create a report which will be on 2 topics. 1 from your partner, 1 from you. 2 topics, if 1 from your partner, you want to select from 3 of your topics. Then you only want to select from 3 of your topics. So that means you have a medium to elaborate more on the choosing based on the discussion, based on the sharing of the views. So it's one step further than the discussion. So there is no regulations how many times you need to write on the wiki. I did not specify it because it does not make a lot of sense. It's a medium. I want you to try using it. Because in every major knowledge, teacher will give you wiki for you to do a group project. Yeah. If she needs your help, yes, you can talk about this. Eventually, you have to choose separate, different topics, okay? Her 3 topics must be different from your 3 topics. You cannot overlap. The sample topic must have discussion detail in the discussion forum. Yes. You have to finish 3 discussion topics with her, and she has to finish 3 discussion topics with you. So this is the challenge, the extra work which is not in the part one. Remember, in the part one, you just have to discuss part. And you just have to do one. Now it's free. And at the end of the discussion, you need to choose one, the right one. And you also need to choose one of the very right one. No, even in the discussion forum, you need to do 3 topics discussion. Yes. Okay? Now, if you have a question, you can ask me, okay? The most important thing is to create a scenario where you have to use your time very carefully. Okay? You have to use your time very carefully.嗱，咁樣嘅點解做得唔緊要？其實咧，個人嚟講咧，就一定要交一個先嘅章6或者7 ，OK。咁咧，但係咧6或者7咧，因為你加入嘅章嘅topic多咗，數多咗，所以咧你交我呢個章咧，你嗰個裏邊有唔同嘅問題嘅，你可能你嗰個拍法咧就分工作。將某一個好難嘅章佢大家齊出，你做3個3個咁啦。然之後，當你交嘅時候咧，你就交你自己做嘅3個，加埋你嗰個拍落去嘅3個，咁就當係你嗰邊嗰個章㗎啦。咁但係你一定要揀咧，如果你交到呢邊咧，譬如你交5咧，咁咧你個 partner 咧，佢咧就佢唔係交，即係如果佢抵後啲話，你做2個 week 嘅，咁佢你交，通常好少咁啊嘛。多數，所以你通常咧就係話，當你交邊嘅時候，你就交唔得嘅。但係你話係咁話，我做2個邊嘅，譬如我3個 member 嗰啲咧，我對呢個咧做邊個，我對佢哋做邊個，我都要做咁多咁樣。咁就係即係交嘅時候咧，就我會決定嘅，我係交邊個地方，我兩邊有做。咁但係噏咗你哋自己決定啦。咁其實咧，交咗先呢個章嘅。我有3個星期，我每個星期都揀一個，去同我嘅 learning partner discuss。咁即係話其實因為呢個你每一個星期，每一個 member，每一個星期我哋都做咗嘅，你明唔明意思啊？咁譬如咁樣，仲有一個 requirement 咧，就係話我呢個 group 裏邊或者呢個 game 裏邊，我揀個 topic同我嘅 partner 一定唔同嘅。咁你知唔知就係意思係乜嘢咧？就係話將你哋嗰個資源咧分散學嘅嘢，然之後咧就俾我哋同學教呢樣嘢，即係彼此互相去教，就教導咁樣咯，就幫助。咁但係可以用翻人哋嘅嘢去教。嗱喺咁嘅情況下邊咧，你每一個星期你可以揀一個 topic去抽咗3個，咁就同你個 learning partner 討論。咁你個 learning partner 你每個時間抽咗3個啲嘢去討論。咁就討論咗個工作邊個嘢就 discussion forum。discussion forum 呢個咧多呢個，OK， 即係話你到時交 discussion forum 呢個 learning partner 嘅時候咧，係而家3組嘅 discussion 呢個，每一組係2個手，算你自己。個每個人係2組。所有呢啲 content 咧，佢哋都會繼續嘅，即係話到時你喺個 discussion forum 上有呢啲啦，有人 copy 啲有買到3個就交買到3個，同嗰啲係啦冇錯。咁但係咧，嗱你覺得我Wiki係我做咩嘢咧？因為今次咧你要嚟學呢樣嘢嘛。嗱 Wiki 咧個 最大嘅目的就係話你寫嘅章度之後，你應該將你嘅章度 copy 去你嘅 space 嗰度，因為你會其實 pair 㗎嘛，所以我哋做咗每個人都有自己嘅 page 嘅，你就將佢 copy 呢個 page 度，就係你要寫清楚 copy 落章度 discussion forum 兩樣嘢先啦，第三個 report 啦，因為我要交俾佢，即係 wiki 咧就要成為一個比較大嘅容器。唔係裝住每個人做嘅章度，都裝住每個人做嘅 discussion detail， 裝住每個人做嘅 report。係 discussion detail 係啦，自己就安個係方便你啲 member 一齊睇。除咗睇之外，啲 member 都可以即刻俾 feedback 啦，你打上 feedback。嗱，你記住個手就喎，你打喺你個 member 個 page 上面冇 delete 人嘅嘢。你拍出嚟得啦，你冇 delete，因為你係繼續 continue type 嘅，但你冇 delete。呢啲咗咧，你個 member 就會忘記到之前寫咗 friend 呢啲咗，所以我哋 type 所以其實乜嘢咧，即係 keep 所有嘅嘢去俾嗰個同學去做 represent。discussion 其實好簡單，就同 reply 其他嘢全部都已經你再用 reply 即係點改㗎啦，你唔使查之前嘅嘢㗎。嗱，咁每期咧就係 copy and paste 你個 discussion 嘅落去。但係當然每個人打上自己屋企都唔一樣。我頭先講即係最基本你 copy 嘅，有啲同學咧就其實 wiki 係一個好好嘅工具，幫佢去做自己所學到嘅嘢，即係用啲新嘅傳承。我相信佢會記住，如果從細嘅時候，可能會只係寫一個討論重點喺嗰度寫。咁所以都係成立。咁然之後咧，你知道呢個嘢我係做咩？因為你做生活就係佢呢條嗰度嚟講咧，嗱係點樣上一個我哋教嘅時候有幾個部分嘅。你嘅 topic 有就拉，我嘅 topic 有就拉。你要 merge 嘅過程當中，你有寫一次我嘅 merge 就係個所謂嘅。今次咧就係個 wiki 上大概。即係你講一次過其實做咗即係一次考嘅基礎，咁wiki 嘅係冇咩問題嘅，我哋做啲 project 嘅時候，我哋一齊唔嘥時間，開會嘅時間做呢啲嘢，大家上去，大家就唔使寫啲嘢嘅。所以點解要學 wiki？一步一步嚟做好多嘢嘅，但係如果一次過太多咧，嗰啲 project 3就再多啲新嘢。方面同上次一樣，你計每一個 topic 係3至4版，每一個 topic 3至4版，因為點解一定要咁講咧？因為如果你有好多人咧，你就每個 topic 3至4版，即係最多8版啫嘛。如果做咩咧？你可能要做3個，我要做3個寫嘅寫到啲派度啊，嗰啲係乜嘢咧？你哋去揀，即係你做咩 decision 揀呢個？因為我哋喺現實生活咧，我哋做嘢咧，最終係有機會揀出，就係機會揀。所以好似同咗呢個一樣啦，寫到你可以揀一個 topic 寫，冇6個，OK 得唔得？呢個3個人做嘢嘅時候，最多3個人。其實做呢個呢 tool 咧，佢最主要考慮大家俾大家，做啲嘢係要篩選，同埋你要根據你嘅時間嘅限制，掌握呢個目標係咁樣做，就去咁行動。咁我哋就係上次嗰4個 task 每一個同學咧，只係做即係少講一個叫做做。咁你要做呢個就係揀咗交俾有個 topic 就大家都3個做啦。你做3個，咁點解要每做咗揀開張啊？有邊個嚟講？但係佢哋成日調轉啦，跟住話你一考3個 topic 唔係2人講，呢個 topic 就係1。好認真嘅，咁所以即係我哋有啲將來， 你要做 extra 嘅將來，因為你 discussion 你要做，咁但係佢都冇問題嘅，因為你係學嗰個 semester 我 expect 有10個章要做，10個章，我哋都係當 grade 去完成呢樣嘢。所以其實冇乜嘢嘅，但係你即係比較機會去有啲差唔多，我哋多一啲嘢，因為我哋學。Very good. 明唔明啊？唔明點解而家知唔知啊？你識得點樣去轉位，因為如果你唔轉咧，你就冇好多嘢做，轉咗又冇乜嘢做，即係唔係即係差一樣嘅，我覺得因為現實嘅生活就係咁，overload 嘛。overload 咧係有啲叫做 rules 嘅，根據啲 rules 咧去自己落最 facilitate 嘅就做到個 Yes. Just like the first learning project, because each one of you has 3 topics, right? So you just select one topic to write and wrong. Okay? And normally the topic you select to write and wrong is also the topic that you use in the written report. Because in the written report, you gain 2 topics. One selected from 3, and the other one is selected from your 3. So just like the first learning project. The only difference is in this learning project, it will discuss 3 different topics, one for each group. From the head, yes, that means no longer from the individual level. This time from both of you. So 2 of you will just produce day. Very good. Very good. Very good. Just have to learn how to manage. This is it. Time management. 主要你通咗，因為我哋成個社會你做唔做都係做好多資料嘅嘢，咁但係咧個考驗咧就係會 maneuver， 因為有啲咩係唔同嘅嘢可以用，同埋啲時間嚟到長，一定做得到。OK，Okay, let me take attendance first. So today's attendance, Kelly is not here. Sarah, thank you. Kara, thank you. Joanna, thank you. Yosini, thank you. Lovely, yes, thank you. Shirley, thank you. Nicole, okay, thank you very much. Lena, yes. Vicky, thank you. Helen, thank you. Joanne, thank you. And then Winston, thank you. Greg is not here. Kathy, thank you. And then Cersei, yes. Wendy, thank you. Thank you very much. Now, may I also invite you to remember to complete your questionnaire before the end of today, okay? Our questionnaire is here. It's going to end today at 11:55. If you have not done it, okay, please make sure you do it. I checked it. We now have 11 students who have done it, and we have 16, okay? So 5 more if you have not done it. So please do it so that I can share with you the discovery, the findings, very useful. And a lot of the very good suggestions too. So before the end of today, please make sure you do it, okay? And then if you want to share somehow this week, please sign up in the discussion forum of last week. So let me come back to week number 6 so that I could show you some very important things in a very fast half an hour. I want to show you a very interesting speech by the inventor, or better say the father of the World Wide Web, Tim Berners-Lee. Okay, he's talking about the next web of open linked data. It's about 15 minutes. Tim Berners-Lee.
It was actually almost 20 years ago when I wanted to reframe the way we use information, the way we work together. I invented the World Wide Web. Now, 20 years on, Ted, I'm going to ask your help in a new reframing. So going back to 1989, I wrote a memo suggesting a global hypertext system. Nobody really did anything with it very much. But 18 months later, this is how innovation happens. 18 months later, my boss said I could do it on the side as a sort of a play project. Kicked the tires on the new computer we got, and so he gave me the time to code it up. So I basically roughed out what HTML should look like, hypertext protocol, HTTP, the idea of URLs, these names for things which started with HTTP. I wrote the code and put it out there. Why did I do it? Well, it was basically frustration. I was frustrated. I was working as a software engineer in this huge, very exciting lab. Lots of people coming from all over the world. They brought all sorts of different computers with them. They had all sorts of different data formats, all sorts of kinds of documentation systems. So in all that diversity, if I wanted to figure out how to build something out of a bit of this and a bit of this, everything I looked into, I had to connect to some new machine, I had to learn to run some new program, I would find the data, maybe the information I wanted in some new data format, and they were all incompatible. It was just very frustrating. The frustration was that there's all this unlocked potential. In fact, on all these disks, there were documents. So if you just imagine it all being part of some big virtual documentation system in the sky, then, say, on the internet, then life will be so much easier. Well, once you have an idea like that, it kind of gets under your skin, and even if people don't read your memo, actually he did. It was found after he died, his copy, we found that he'd written vague but exciting in pencil on the corner. But in general, it was difficult to explain what the web was like. It's difficult to explain to people now that it was difficult then. But then, okay, when TED started, there was no web. So things like click didn't have the same meaning. I could show somebody a piece of hypertext, a page which has got links, and we click on a link and bing, there'll be another hypertext page. Not impressive. We've seen that. We've got things on hypertext on CD-ROMs. What was difficult was to get them to imagine. So imagine that link could have gone to virtually any document you could imagine. All right. That is a leap that was very difficult for people to make. Well, some people did. So yeah, it was difficult to explain, but there was a grassroots movement. That is what made it most fun. That was been the most exciting thing, not the technology, not the things people have done with it, but actually the community, the spirit of all these people getting together, sending emails. That's what it was like then. Do you know what? It's funny, but right now it's kind of like that again. I asked everybody more or less to put their documents. I said, could you put your documents on this web thing? And you did. Thanks. It's been advanced, doesn't it? I mean, it's been quite interesting because we found out that the things that happen with the web really sort of blow us away. They're much more than we originally imagined when we put together the little initial website that we started off with. Now, I want you to put your data on the web. Turns out that there is still huge unlocked potential. There is still a huge frustration that people have because we haven't got data on the web as data. What do you mean data? What's the difference? Documents, data? Well, documents you read, okay. More or less you can read them, you can follow links from them, and that's it. Data, you can do all kinds of stuff with the computer. Who was here, or otherwise seen Hans Rosling's talk? When Hans Rosling's was at TED, one of the great, yes, a lot of people have seen it because it was one of the great TED talks. Hans put up this presentation in which he showed for various different countries in various different colors, he showed income level on one axis, and he showed infant mortality, and he showed this thing animated through time. So he's taken this data and made a presentation which just shattered a lot of myths that people had about the economics in the developing world. He put up a slide a little bit like this. It had underground all the data. Okay, data is brown and boxy and boring, and that's how we think of it, isn't it, data? Because data you can't naturally use by itself. But in fact, data drives a huge amount of what happens in our lives. It happens because somebody takes that data and does something with it. In this case, Hans had put the data together. He found it from all kinds of United Nations websites and things. He put it together, combined it into something more interesting than the original pieces. And then he put it into this software, which I think Sun developed originally, and produces this wonderful presentation. And Hans made a point of saying, look, it's really important to have a lot of data. And I'm happy to see that at the party last night that he was still saying very forcibly, it's really important to have a lot of data. So I want us now to think about not just 2 pieces of data being connected or 6 like he did, but I want to think about a world where everybody has put data on the web, so virtually everything you can imagine is on the web. And I'm calling that linked data. The technology is linked data, and it's extremely simple. If you want to put something on the web, there are 3 rules. First thing is that those HTTP names, those things that start with HTTP colon, we're using them not just for documents, now we're using them for things that documents are about. We're using them for people, we're using them for places, we're using them for your products, we're using them for events. All kinds of conceptual things, they have names now that start with HTTP. Second rule, if I take one of these HTTP names and I look it up, I go and do the web thing with it, and I fetch the data using the HTTP protocol from the web, I will get back some data in a standard format, which it's kind of useful data that somebody might like to know about that thing, about that event, who's at the event, whatever it is, about that person, where they were born, things like that. So the second rule is I get important information back. Third rule is that when I get back that information, it's not just got somebody's height and weight and when they were born, it's got relationships. Data is relationships. It's interesting the way data is relationships. It's got this person was born in Berlin. Berlin is in Germany, and when it has relationships, whenever it expresses a relationship, then the other thing that it's related to is given one of those names that starts HTTP. So I can go ahead and look that thing up. So I look up a person. I can look up the city where they were born, then I can look up the region it's in, and the town it's in, and the population of it, and so on. So I can browse this stuff. So that's it, really. That is linked data. I wrote an article entitled Big Data a couple of years ago, and soon after that, things started to happen. The idea of linked data is that we get lots and lots and lots of these boxes that hands have, and we get lots and lots and lots of things sprouting. It's not just a whole lot of other parts. It's not just a root supplying a plant, but for each of those parts, whatever it is, a presentation, an analysis, somebody's looking for patterns in the data, they get to look at all the data and they get connected together. And the really important thing about data is the more things you have to connect together, the more powerful it is. So, linked data. The meme went out there, and pretty soon Chris Bitzer at the Freie Universität in Berlin was one of the first people to put interesting things up. He noticed that Wikipedia, you know Wikipedia, the online encyclopedia with lots and lots of interesting documents in it? Well, in those documents, there are little squares, little boxes, and in those information boxes, there's data. So he wrote a program to take the data, extract it from Wikipedia, and put it into a blob of linked data on the web, which is called DBpedia. DBpedia is represented by the blue blob in the middle of this slide, and if you actually go and look up Berlin, you'll find that there are other blobs of data which also have stuff about Berlin, and they're linked together. So if you pull the data from DBpedia about Berlin, you'll end up pulling up these other things as well, and the exciting thing is starting to grow. This is just the grassroots stuff again, okay? Now let's think about data for a bit. Data comes, in fact, in lots and lots of different forms. Think of the diversity of the web. It's a really important thing that the web allows you to put all kinds of data up there. So it is with data. I could talk about all kinds of data. We could talk about government data. Enterprise data is really important. There's scientific data, there's personal data, there's weather data, there's data about events, there's data about talks, and there's news, there's all kinds of stuff. I'm just going to mention a few of them so that you get the idea of the diversity of it, so that you also see how much unlocked potential. Let's start with government data. Barack Obama said in a speech that American government data would be available on the internet in accessible formats. And I hope that they will put it up as linked data. That's important. Why is it important? Not just for transparency. Yeah, transparency in government is important, but that data, this is the data from all the government departments. Think about how much of that data is about how life is lived in America. It's actually useful. It's got value. I can use it in my company. I could use it as a kid to do my homework. So we're talking about making the world run better by making this data available. In fact, if you're responsible, if you know about some data in a government department, often you find that these people, they're very tempted to keep it. To Hans calls it database hugging. You hug your database, you don't let it go until you've made a beautiful website for it. Well, I'd like to suggest that, well, before you just make a beautiful website, who am I to say don't make a beautiful website? Make a beautiful website, but first, give us the unadulterated data. We want the data. We want unadulterated data. Okay, we have to ask for raw data now, and I'm going to ask you to practice that, okay? Can you say raw? Raw. Can you say data? Can you say now? Right. Raw data now. Raw. Practice that. It's important because you have no idea the number of excuses people come up with to hang on to their data and not give it to you, even though you've paid for it as a taxpayer. And it's not just America, it's all over the world. And it's not just governments, of course, it's enterprises as well. So I'm just going to mention a few other sorts of data. Here we are at TED, and all the time, we are very conscious of the huge challenges which human society has right now. Curing cancer, understanding the brain for Alzheimer's, understanding economies, make it a little bit more stable, understanding how the world works. The people who are going to solve those are scientists. They have half-formed ideas in their head. They try to communicate those over the web, but a lot of the state of knowledge of the human race at the moment is on databases, often sitting in their computers, and actually currently not shared. In fact, I'll just go into one area. If you're looking at Alzheimer's, for example, drug discovery, there is a whole lot of linked data which is just coming out because scientists in that field realize this is a great way of getting out of those silos because they have their genomics data in one database and in one building, and they have the protein data in another. Now they are sticking it onto linked data, and now they can ask a question you probably wouldn't ask, I wouldn't ask, they would. What proteins are involved in signal transduction and also related to pyramidal neurons? Well, you take that mouthful and you put it into Google. Of course, there's no page on the web which has answered that question because nobody's asked that question before. You get 250,000 hits, no results you can use. You ask the linked data which they've now put together, 32 hits, each of which is a protein which has those properties, and you can look at the power of being able to ask those questions as a scientist. Questions which actually bridge across different disciplines. It's really a complete sea change. It's very, very important. Scientists are totally stymied at the moment. The power of the data that other scientists have collected is locked up, and we need to get it unlocked so we can tackle those huge problems. Now, if I go on like this, you'll think that all the data comes from huge institutions and has nothing to do with you. But that's not true. In fact, data is about our lives. You log onto your social networking site, you pick your favorite one, you say, this is my friend, bing, relationship, data. You say, this photograph, oh, it's about, it depicts this person, bing, that's data. Data. Every time you do things in the social networking site, it's taking data and using it, repurposing it, and using it to make other people's lives more interesting on the site. But when you go to another linked site, you say, this is one about travel, and you say, I want to send this photo to all the people in that group, can't get over the walls. The Economist wrote an article about it, and lots of people blogged about it. Tremendous frustration, the way to break down the silos, to get interoperability between social networking sites. We need to do that with linked data. One last type of data I'll talk about, maybe it's the most exciting. Came down here, I looked up on the OpenStreetMap. OpenStreetMap's map, but it's also a wiki. Zoom in, and that square thing is the theater which we're in right now, the Terrace Theater. I didn't have a name on it, so I could go to any mode, I could select the theater, I could add on down the bottom the name, and then I could see it back, and now if you go back to the openstreetmap.org and you find this place, you will find that the Terrace Theater has got a name. I did that! Me! I did that, it's a map! I just did that, I put that up on there, and you know what? It's all that street map is all about everybody doing their bit, and it creates an incredible resource because everybody else does theirs, and that is what linked data is all about. It's about people doing their bit to produce a little bit, and it all connecting. That's how linked data works. But you do your bit, everybody else does theirs. You may not have lots of data which you have yourself to put on there, but you know to demand it, and we practice that. So, linked data is huge. I've only told you a very small number of things. There are data in every aspect of our lives, every aspect of work and pleasure, okay? And it's not just about the number of places where data comes, it's about connecting it together. And when you connect data together, you get power in a way that doesn't happen just with the web, with documents. You get this really huge power out of it. So we're at the stage now where we have to do this. The people who think it's a great idea, and all the people, and I think a lot of people have said, who do things, because even though there's not an immediate return on investment, because it will only really pay off when everybody else has done it, they'll do it because they're the sort of person who just does things, which would be good if everybody else did them. Okay? So it's called linked data. I want you to make it. I want you to demand it. And I think it's an idea worth spreading. Thanks.
Okay. Decrement means that this particular 60 minutes TED talk has mentions the idea of linked data. Okay? And that is a very important context for us to keep in mind. Remember, at the very beginning of this class, I mentioned the Malaysian flight MH370. How do we discover what happened is through the data, linked data. And the data presumably shut off by someone inside the culprit. Was actually, there is another system there leaking the data without the person's knowing it. And that leaked data was picked up by the satellite. Okay, that is part of the linked data concept. Okay, and in today's world, linked data concept is very useful, particularly in 2003, when SARS attacked Hong Kong. And how did Hong Kong respond? They used a supercomputer in the police stations to look at the data collected from all the regions in Hong Kong, look at the pattern of the SARS movement, and use this data as one kind of strategy, data support strategies to prevent the spread of the disease. And what Dean Bernard is also mentioned here is in someday, actually we should start doing it now, that we are able to manipulate, gather those data for our purposes in a good direction. We can achieve more significant results than just a search engine. And now it's called DBpedia. Remember that. I'm going to share with you a little bit more about that important context. Thank you very much for staying behind. It's now 5 minutes to 4. You're free to go. And make sure you complete the questionnaire if you have not done it before 11:55 tonight. Okay? Thank you very much. So that's it for today's CISG 114, Section 1, Web Technology and Life, date number 10 on March the 17th, 2014.